So, Jared, it's been over 10 years now. What do you still find it difficult every day to maintain the weight, or has it become easy for you?
It's definitely not easy. I don't think it'll ever be easy. And unfortunately, what I've found is that the older I've gotten, I'm now 31. I'll be 32 this coming summer. It's more difficult than it ever has been to keep the weight off. It used to be back in my 20s, I could simply pretty much, I got the weight off. I was feeling great about myself. I could, eat pretty much what I wanted. I didn't have to work out too much, and I think just because of my metabolism, I was able to keep the weight off. Well, that has all changed in the last couple of years, and definitely, it seems like every year that goes by these days, in the last couple of years, it's gotten a little bit more difficult and a little bit more difficult to keep it off. I definitely have to think about it on a pretty regular basis, but to me, it's worth it. I want to make sure I keep the weight off, but I'm only human. I may go up a few pounds like anybody else. It's funny with me in a way because I'm in the spotlight for losing, 245 pounds. I'm in a spotlight for keeping weight off now for over 10 years. So is there more pressure? Absolutely, without a doubt. But I sort of try to convert that pressure into motivation to keep it off. I feel very lucky in a way that I have this job where my job is sort of to keep some of that, obviously part of my job is to keep the weight off. A lot of people out in America and around the world don't have that. They don't have that sort of nipping at them. So for me, I sort of look at it as a very much a positive thing, and it's been great, but it's definitely not easy. It's definitely not easy. I really still do eat Subway quite a bit, and if I've noticed I put a couple pounds on, I will go back to eating Subway on a much more regular basis, more times each week than I would probably normally, and really make sure I even leave off the light mayonnaise, of course, and make sure I don't put the cheese on the sandwiches for a while and that kind of thing. And it's amazing how fast, luckily when I really stick to it and I get motivated and I get fired up, that the weight is able to come off. And of course that's the eating part of it, but then you have the working out part, and I've been very lucky that I found a great personal trainer in Indianapolis who helps me keep the weight off and helps me make sure I'm exercising properly and doing the right things, and that's also really, really important. And I can't tell you how important the exercise component has become the last couple of years for me. I'm probably in better actual physical shape now than I ever have been since I was a little kid. As far as I have more muscle tone now, and I feel better about myself. And it used to be I dreaded working out. Now I'm sort of excited about working out. So my attitude has definitely changed with that as well. But I think I'm moving in the right direction, and obviously it's been great.
Do you sometimes feel you're under a microscope, like people are watching you, expecting you to put weight back on, or expecting you to go back to the way you were?
I definitely feel I'm under a microscope. I am under a microscope. I think anybody who knows my story, for whatever reason in America, we like to see people sort of succeed to a point, and then sometimes people are like, all right, what's going to happen next? And I just want to make sure I don't let people down. I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let my family down, obviously. But once again, I always say, I really did work way too hard to get that weight off in the first place. And even though it's been going on 11 years now, I remember what it took to get the weight off. And obviously I want to make sure I never put it back on. But it is a lot of pressure at times. And just like everything else, I had an incident, I told you, I know people on my blog who have followed it, where I had a leg issue. I hurt my leg on a boat back in December, and it really sidelined me for a couple months. I couldn't work out. And it unfortunately got me off track for a little bit. But at the same time, once my leg healed, I had to have the mental wherewithal to get back on track, literally. And luckily, and here we are, and all is good. But but you got to sort of go with the flow. I think that's the case with life in general. Whatever your circumstances are, you have to. The biggest thing I can tell people is you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to realize that every day, every week, every month, every year is going to present new and different challenges. And if you're just static and you're not willing to sort of go with the flow and change with your circumstances, I think that's when you can run into the risk of putting all that weight back on.